Hey there, welcome to Izzo's place. Well, it's time to review my saw, but the saw's on the ground. You don't want to see a tour of the saw while it's sitting on the ground, do you? Well, let's go ahead and put it on this bad boy. Oh, here's my beautiful new saw. So the most interesting thing about this to me is this saw only takes one FlexVolt battery. My first saw that I have that's cordless, that's still in use down in Florida, takes 2 batteries. So now we only need 1 to make this guy move. Now, if you're going to use any power tools, be safe. We'll have the battery in for parts of this. We'll have the battery out of it for parts of this, just so we can show you all the features. So this has a lock here, push down to lock. And then when it's in one of the static positions, you have to raise this up to move it. Moves nice and easy. When it's in a static position, you don't necessarily have to lock it. I usually do just by force of habit. Okay. So this here is how you unlock this part of the saw. Push down a little just to take the pressure off, pull that out and turn it, and our saw is in its upright position. Okay. Sometimes you need to do a compound angle. So these just slide away. They each have 1 thumb screw in the back, and I'll show you in a little bit. But these slide out pretty far if you need the support of the backrest. There we go. And if you need them out all the way, they can be removed. Same with this side. Can be removed, can be lengthened. And then of course this is all the way closed. This saw comes with these side supports, but generally I don't need them because I've got it set up on a saw. But if I wanted to take this off and use it without the saw stand, then these are made to be at the same level as the rest of the platform here. It's not much, gives you another 3 or 4 inches, say 5 inches maybe, but that might be all you need in certain situations. But for me, probably not going to use it. Easy there. Okay, it also comes with a clamp. It goes here. I think you can do it on either side. Yeah, you can do it on either side. But if you need to hold down the material to keep yourself safe, this is how you would go about doing it. So it's got a thumb screw here to tighten it in whatever position this way you want. And then of course you can clamp down onto I'm doing a lot of boops lately. I don't know what's up with that. But yeah, so then you can clamp it down. Don't use it too often, but when you need it, it comes in very handy. What on earth is this? Where does this go? Okay, so this goes in the back, and there are 2 screws that you can use to hold it down. But this, again, this support piece is if you're using the saw alone. So I'm going to keep it, but this saw is going to pretty much live on this stand. I can't think of a time when I'm taking it off. But I'll keep the part just in case. Okay, oh, it's so beautiful. So the neat thing with these saws, just gonna real quick give it a little blast. Okay. The neat thing is it's got this LED light here, and that LED light puts a laser, or not a laser, puts a shadow line on whatever you're cutting, so you actually can see exactly where the blade is gonna go. I find this to be so much better than a laser. A laser can come out of adjustment, but you know, light is never gonna come out of adjustment. It's always gonna shine on the blade, and it's gonna put a nice shadow mark where you're gonna cut. Alright, so to close this up, turn this and let it drop back in, and you're closed. Now, on the other side, let me take you over there. When I close this down, alright, so, okay. So this has got a stop on it. So that puts it at a particular position. I'll have to see what the advantages of that position are. But it's a sliding compound miter saw, so it can slide back and forth. If I'm gonna be carrying it, I will tighten that so that way don't move anymore. And then I'll usually put this at 60 degrees so that way it kind of gives it the most narrow profile when I'm putting it back in the van. So we've got a stop here. Let me show you how that works. So if you want to make a cut, but you don't want to cut all the way through for whatever reason, and there's different reasons why you'd want to do that, you can slide this piece out. I don't know how easy that was to see. I'll get a close-up of all these. And then it's got this threaded bolt with a wing nut, and that stops you way high. You know, but if you wanted to leave like a 1/2 inch or something, you loosen the wing nut, you put this to wherever you need it to be, and then once you've found your spot, then tighten that wing nut up again. Boy, and that really is up there, isn't it? I can't see myself ever using this, but it's nice to know it's here. Let me just take it up all the way. Okay, see, there at least, okay. Yeah, so if we want to do like a 1/2 inch, and a 1/2 inch would be somewhere right around here, and then tighten it. So yeah, so when we're cutting, we would no longer be cutting all the way through the material. If you're like faking up a dado or a rabbit, that would be the time you'd probably want to use that. And then when you're done, rather than having to adjust this at all, you just pop that back up, and we're back down to normal cutting. Okay, so it's got a rubber sleeve here, which helps take some of the dust up through the dust port into the dust bag. And honestly, I end up losing dust bags a lot. I will try to go somewhere where I don't have to worry about dust, preferably outside or a garage. But something you can do is it has an adapter. So I imagine this adapter is probably going to fit a hose from a shop vac. Let me grab one. And while the bag isn't great for catching the dust, it will catch some of the dust. The bag will fill up eventually. But if you can put some suction on this, you're going to reduce your dust so much. Okay, and for a change, which is one of my bigger complaints about DeWalt with their smaller saws, for a change, that fits right on your standard shop vac hose. So I could easily connect a shop vac to this, suck away as much of that dust as I can. You're still going to get some dust, but that would help out immensely. So good job, DeWalt, for not making me angry at your dust collection for a change. Okay. All right, so I think this is just for transport. I think that might be just for transport, so that way you don't have to rely on this knob. Because on my old one, this knob definitely doesn't hold. Like a few minutes into driving away from somewhere, I'll start hearing it sliding back and forth. So actually that is great. I like that they put that on there. So yeah, so if you're carrying it or transporting it, you can even tighten it down if you really want to secure it, if you gotta like carry it across a job site or something. But of course, that's why I have a miter saw stand, so that way I don't have to carry it by hand across the job site. Please excuse me, I have to turn off the alarm. Okay, other features. Any other features we want to look at? Alright, so it is dual compound miter. So let me get these fences out of the way for a moment. So it'll slide all the way to 45, as long as the stops are out of the way anyway. So it'll slide all the way to 45. Looks like it's pretty good on 45. Might need to make some minor adjustments. But it easily slides the one way. And I'll show you how to slide it the other way. Okay, so there's a button back here. Again, I'll show you after. Not a button, there's a knob. So there's a knob back here. If you need to go the other way, you pull it out. It's this same type of knob where you pull it and twist it and it locks. So you pull that out, and boom, we can go to 45 on the other side. And that also looks like it's on 45. We'll check that later and make sure that those are true 45s. So if you need to go that way, there you go. It does have several stops here, so it's got a 22.5 degree. Let's see how accurate that is. Boom. It is pretty close. It's maybe like a 1/2 degree off, and that's something that can be adjusted. 22.5 degree. That one looks slightly more accurate, so I think that one's okay. We might have to adjust the other angle. All right, what else do we got? So there's another stop here. Let's see where that goes. I bet it's like a 31 point something. Yeah, and honestly, it's a setting I don't use. I was never trained to cut crown that way, but it's a way of doing a compound angle. But unfortunately, I don't know how to do it because I was never trained like that. And then of course it'll have the same stop on the other side. 31, 2, 3. It's like 33. But again, I don't know how to cut that way. So not something I'm going to use personally. All right, and then when you're done doing the compound, you can lock it where now it won't go to the right, only to the left, because we're locked. And I'll put the fences back. Oh, and when you do put it on whatever angle you want, there's a set screw back here, a large set screw. Twist it, tighten it, she stays. Okay, let me go ahead and give you a tour. Okay, here's where our battery goes. In order to do this switch, you actually have to, there's a little lever there. I don't know if you can see that. I think you can. You actually have to push that, then you can pull it in. If you just push, saw is locked. So it's a little bit of a safety thing. Like, you have to consciously turn it on. There's always that extra little bit of something to do. That will just turn the light on, so that way you can see the shadow line while you're lining up your cut. It's got a standard guard. Don't take your guards off. Don't block them in an open position. So this is that little stopper flip. So boom, put it down. Boom, saw does not go all the way down. There are times where that's useful. Here's our stop. So if I drop it down, it locks. Then one-handed. All right, so you got to kind of ease the pressure off in order to be able to take it off. So one-handed is not the most simple thing, but I did do it. Guess it's not that horrible. Okay, there's our degrees down here. You have positive stops at, where are we at? At 15, 22 and a half, 31.6, 45. Let me make sure. Yeah, your first one's at 15. And then it'll have the same on the other side, 22 and a half, 31.6, 45. But on this side, you actually can go all the way up to 60 degrees. It comes in very handy sometimes. Okay. So there's our gauge for when we're doing the compound miters. And there's that other knob. So this allows you to compound all the way to the right instead of just to the left. Here's our lock. Here's this bar. So when you aren't traveling and you need this to come, in and out, you gotta lift that out of the way. And then here's our lock for these, for the travel. Okay, I think that's it. This screw is what tightens that back bar if I was going to use it, which I'm not. This screw tightens on the supports that would go on the side. This screw supports that go on the side. That's where you're supposed to grab it when you're carrying it, but we're not carrying it anymore now that it's on the saw stand. All right, let me go ahead and put this back in and just show you that light. Oh, one battery. That's sexy. I think it's in. All right, so if I just push this button, light comes on. And no easy way to see this. I promise not to turn it on. But yeah, it's easier to see when the saw is running, but that line there, that's your shadow line. That's where I'll be cutting. That's where I'll be cutting my fingers off. Nope, just kidding. Please keep your fingers out of the way of the blade. All right, so I will use this for a while, and I'll get you an update on this saw. This was kind of just an overview. I guess it's not really a review yet. I haven't used it. Just an overview and a setup, and I expect that I'm going to love it like I loved my old saw. But I will give it a review, because you need to know if I'm wrong. Okay, and finally, let's go ahead and stand it up. If you saw the saw stand review, you know what I'm talking about. Okay, we're locked in at 45. We're locked in here. Our bar is here. Our knob is twisted. All right, so we're going to lower it. I'm going to push on this lever. I'm going to pull up a little bit and then push down. Okay, that was nice and easy. Now we're going to lift it up. Okay, and she stands. So the weight of the saw is not enough to topple over the support of the saw stand. So I am looking forward to cutting some things with this new saw. And I'll give you a review after we're done cutting some things. But in the meantime, if you're working, work safely. Especially if you're using a saw like this. Please work safely. Watch those fingers. Watch the eye protection. Watch the dust protection. If you're drinking whiskey, drink responsibly. But do everything with a little bit of whimsy, and you're going to have a good time. And I'll see you next time you're hanging out at Izzo's place.